As the host of Neutralize the Mama Trauma podcast, I am delighted to be able to bring you this podcast. My name is Wendy Lopez, and I would like to introduce myself to you. I specialize in helping people overcome their emotional blocks through different techniques, through emotional empowerment coaching and compassionate healing light facilitation. As a mom who has experienced narcissistic trauma, I help moms eradicate self-doubt in order to regain self-confidence to elevate their status both at home and at work. In our podcast, we discuss people's struggles, triumphs, and failures. We dive deeper into self-love, self-compassion, self-acceptance, and mindful, holistic tips. In every episode, I hope that you can take a golden nugget of advice and apply it to the journey of motherhood in order to raise your level of awareness. Welcome to Neutralize the Mama Trauma podcast, where you find healing and creative mental thought advice from experts on past pain, narcissistic experiences, and trauma. Today, I have a special guest, and her name is Jeanice Cummings. She is a certified relationship transition coach, trainer, and speaker, specializing in supporting female professionals transitioning out of toxic or abusive relationships, singles, divorced, or widowed. With over 35 years in nonprofit leadership, her mission is to lead clients from brokenness to wholeness. She is the CEO of You Win Working With Me, LLC, and is a poet and consultant. Her hobbies are singing and tree gazing. Welcome, Jeanice. I am so happy to have you on here and have moms be able to listen to your trauma struggle. And then, obviously with what you do now, it's so exciting to be on the other side.
I hear you. Thank
Right?
you. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you for inviting me. It's such a pleasure to be here today.
Yeah,
Such a
thank
pleasure.
you.
Yeah.
So can you start us off where you found yourself in knowing that you were in a trauma or struggle and how it was affecting your sense of self-worth?
Okay. I can start off with that.
Mhm.
I just to give you a little quick background, I grew up in a toxic and abusive household.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and so my self-worth started diminishing at an early age.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And my
Okay.
self-esteem.
Okay.
And who I was, I never really got a chance to know who I was because in those kind of situations, the trauma takes precedent over everything. So you're just trying to survive.
Right, right. Yeah, that's a great starter point, right? When we're in trauma situations, we're just trying to survive, and I don't think we realize that's what we're doing. We consider it living.
Mm-hmm. We do.
Wow.
And
Okay.
I think for me, I didn't even know what was missing because, not what I can say about early childhood trauma is that there's no one around to validate who you are and to build you up. And so as a child or a young person, you kind of lose your way and you have to find your way. So I found my way around the age, well, I didn't actually find my way, but I found out what was missing at
Okay.
about age 12 because I was reading an article about self-esteem. I took the test and I failed everything on the
At the
test.
age of 12?
At the age of 12, yeah. But for me, I grew up fast because I was the oldest girl.
Mm-hmm.
And so I became like a parent to my mother because I was her confidant. I was the person she went to when things were down. And so I felt like I was special in many ways, but I didn't care about myself. So once I figured it was self esteem, I started really kind of working towards it, but still not knowing what's missing in my life. I still don't know it. I still don't get it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So as time progressed, and I found myself being in toxic relationships.
Yes.
I didn't know that they were toxic. It sometimes it takes a while to know what's really going on. So I didn't
Mm-hmm.
really know they were toxic, but I knew that there was something inside of me that needed to be repaired. Yeah, I couldn't put my finger on it, but I was depressed and I had a lot of anxiety and I was just feeling very, very bad, especially being in toxic relationships. Of course, we always feel bad when we're in toxic relationships, but the pivotal point actually for me was working at a battered woman shelter. I was the program coordinator.
Okay.
And I got sick because what happened is I had forgotten all about my early childhood trauma. I had just took it out of my mind. But as God would have it, he brought it back to me and it was in my face. It was in my face. And what happened is I became physically ill every time I stuck the key in to go into the shelter. I would get an instant headache. But at that time, I still didn't know that I had grew up in that environment because I had erased it. It wasn't doing me any good. I thought it wasn't serving me. I hated it. So I kind of forgot all about it. But when I got sick, I started going to therapy. And that's when I realized that that's what was going on with me.
So when you were at the shelter, working at the shelter,
Right.
that's when all your memories were starting to surface up. So in your so from the time from when you experienced your trauma to working in the
Right.
shelter, you had seemed to have suppressed it.
Yes, definitely. Like it never happened before. But I got suspicious because I said, I started disliking being around women. And I said, well, what's this about? What's
Oh,
this about? Professionally, we wear this face. So
yes,
no one really knew it. But on the weekends, I would be extremely depressed and I would be
right.
angry at the women. At home, I would be
Oh,
angry. And of course, when I was wild, yeah, I can help you. I can do all this like that. And one day I got sick at the shelter and I went straight to Kaiser. And then
okay.
that's when the doctor told me that it was stress related. And then I started going to therapy to work on it. And
And how
that
did
was
you get sick?
I got sick because my chest started hurting. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't stop crying. I was just crying uncontrollably all the way to the hospital, all the way inside, all the way with the doctor, because this has been pent up for years and years and years. And I was going around like I hadn't experienced it. So all
So
these
this
things
was like
started.
a physical response.
Yes, yes, that's what happens. My trauma manifests physically because I can always tell when when I'm under a lot of stress because my chest will start hurting. Those are some of the things that you need to watch about your body because I have a background in holistic health. I don't think we pay attention to our bodies enough because our bodies signal us that something's wrong. And
Right.
so the doctor took me off of work for a whole year. A
Wow.
whole year. Yeah, I went to therapy every day. I mean, I'm a twice a week. And when Kleenex was just balled up, all wet, just crying, letting it all out, I thought it was my fault.
Wow.
As a child, you don't know. Well, maybe I had something to do with it. Maybe I deserved it, you know?
Mm.
Because children don't know. And people always think that, oh, they don't know what's going on. They know what's going on. They definitely know.
Wow.
So
So
go ahead, dear.
when you mentioned that you had noticed that you were not liking women, and I had that too, and I had to work on that and release that. What was your well? And then here I interview women, right? And I work with women now,
Right.
right? Okay.
Yes, exactly.
So can you tell me what was your experience that you weren't liking women? What was going on? What happened that you weren't liking women?
I think I didn't like them because they put kids in positions that kids didn't have any control over. That's why I didn't like them.
Oh,
Because when they came in the shelter, they had to relocate their kids, they had to reroute them and everything. And I got angry because their decisions were affecting children.
yes, right. And this is why I have the podcast. so we could make a better today and better future for moms and the future generation of our children
That's the only
because
way.
of that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, wow. That's amazing. And I love that you felt so passionate about it that it just came out not liking women.
Yeah, it did. It did. It did. And I paid for it on the weekends because I didn't have a weekend. Whatever you don't heal, you can never let go of. You
Oh,
got the healing is so important. And um again, because I dislike women for those various reasons, but how could you work in a profession that you just really don't like the clients that you work with?
yeah,
That's that's kind of impossible. So I
right.
took that year off and I went to therapy and I started reading materials and podcasts. And at the time, I still didn't get it. I still didn't get it. Not no. To me, it's only a quick fix if you know where to start at. It's a quicker
Mm,
fix. But I had to go all the way back to that little hurt little girl and heal her
yes,
because she
yes,
was so
absolutely.
wounded. She was so devastated because she didn't have a say in that relationship at all, period. Even though I went to my mother and told her I didn't like it.
Yeah. How did you feel? Like, how old were you when you started to heal that little girl inside you? And how did you feel going through that?
Well, I was around in my 20s, my late 20s.
Okay.
Um, it was a relief because the little girl
Mm,
was she was so in pain. It was affecting her decisions in relationships. It was affecting her self-esteem, her self-worth, her confidence, all of that. It affected every one of those areas. And so what I did is I was looking for satisfaction from college. So I went and got my master's. I got my in holistic health. I got my BA in psychology, nonprofit leadership. I was just trying to validate who I was. 2 coaching certificates, um, paralegal degree. I was feeling that if I got this, maybe it would verify that I'm okay, that
that
I
you
am
were enough.
yeah, that I am enough, that I am enough. And I finally came, which once I realized what was going on with me, I started studying my behavior. I started
Mm,
watching, what I was contributing to the relationships that I was getting into. By not saying nothing, I didn't have any power. I couldn't set boundaries. It's okay,
absolutely.
but it wasn't okay. All right. And
Mm-hmm.
guess who would get mad at? I would get mad at me,
Mm,
not necessarily the other person,
mm-hmm.
but not setting boundaries, not knowing your worth, not having any confidence. Who are you?
Mm.
Who are
Yes.
you?
Who are you?
Yeah.
Right.
Who are you?
Right. So when you set the intention of healing yourself, going through this path,
Hmm.
how did you begin to start working with people to help them?
Well, actually, I hadn't planned on it,
Okay.
because I still had this dislike going on, regardless, of for my own stuff. But I hadn't planned on it. But I'm very spiritual. But every time for me, that it's not my decision a lot of times, it's spiritual. It's that God
Mm.
chose me to do the work. And then I was lucky enough after I started working on myself to start working with women in jail that were pregnant. And then
Oh.
uh, and I got this feeling that if I don't do it, no one else is going to do it because I have what's needed for women to understand that they can do it too. They can do it
Mm.
too. It just
Right.
takes courage and a lot of
Yes.
tissue, a lot of tissue, a lot of crying. It takes all that. No pain, no gain, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, wow, that's so phenomenal. And this is what I wanted to show moms, right? That beyond trauma, there are gifts. there are rewards, but when we're going through it, we just don't see it. So, what would you advise moms on how to, what could be a next step for them if they find themselves in that place?
Well,
Either a mindset or a feeling, like what can they do for themselves?
I think admission is the first step. I think that you have to
Mm,
admit that something needs to be fixed, you
I
know.
love that.
And it's nothing related, it's not to say that I'm not whole and complete. I just need to fix some tweak some areas in my life that I haven't
Mm,
given attention to. And
mm,
one of the things that I noticed in my journey is that I started looking at my mother's patterns, our ancestors, my mother, her mother before her, and her
mhm,
mother before her. And my mother chose men that were toxic. And so I chose men that were toxic. It was inherited. I didn't come up with
mm,
this. Okay? And I think another way is to look at your back at the background where you came from.
mm,
Are you picking up some things from your mother or your grandmother?
mm,
You know, and admitting that it's true because a lot of times we don't want to go against our parents or our mothers because she's done so much to me. You feel like you doing her in. But it's not
mhm,
like you judging her. She did the best with what she already had. All you
mhm.
want to do is to recover. That's your goal. You don't want to go, it's her fault. You don't want to start pinning faults on nobody. They didn't know any better, or if they did, they would have done better.
Right.
Your job is to heal you so you can heal your daughter, so you can help your niece heal. We can help all these young girls find their way so it won't take so much time like it did for me. So
Right.
being honest with yourself, getting courage to stand up to what you need to stand up to, following directions from someone that you
Mm,
trust that will lead you in the way that you need to be leaded. And knowing that you're worth it. You are worth every ounce of energy that you put into yourself. You're worthy.
mm.
You're worthy.
I
You
love
know.
that because how many times do we not give ourselves that energy? We deny ourselves the energy of worthiness. We deny ourselves the energy of
Mhm.
courage.
Yeah, and my mother, she's since passed in October, but she was like a matron. I mean, she just took everything, from anybody. I mean, from her relationships, she would take a lot from her relationships, but then she would act it out with other people. So whatever you don't heal, you know, you're gonna pass it on to someone else. You really are.
Mm,
You might not pass it on to who deserve it, but some innocent person is going to get the brunt of that anger.
so true. And and normally that's why that saying, like, the ones that hurt you are the ones most closest to you.
Exactly.
It
Exactly.
makes sense,
It
right?
does. It really does. And
Yeah,
we
because
Mhm. Go
growing
ahead.
up, I had a hard time understanding, how does that happen? Why is that true? Why is it that the people you love most are the ones that hurt you? And it's because they are hurting inside and they cut and hurt people
They do.
next to them.
But we have to make decisions though on some of it, even relatives, because I don't feel like you should give away your power just because
Mhm.
they're relatives. And a lot of times people, oh, they family. You know what? Family got to be treated within certain limits too. If
Mhm.
you want to get whole and complete, you minimize that time or you eliminate that time. You're not trying to be mean or nothing, but you have to survive. Because if you
Right.
don't survive, your daughter's not going to survive. How are we going to help the next generation if we continue to exhibit the same behavior?
Right. And I think you have a good point there, even if it's family, right? Because we tend to tolerate family and we shouldn't have to tolerate mistreatment. We shouldn't have to tolerate abuse. We shouldn't have to tolerate disrespect.
Another thing, too, is we let it go on too long. Because
Mm.
in the beginning, when it happens, I've learned that through my own work, it's best to say it then, assertively, not angry, but assertively. I don't like it when you treat me like that. And if you continue to do it, I won't be around you anymore. And stick to it. Stick
Stick
to
to
it.
it.
That's their choice. If they will value you, they'll stop doing it. If they don't value you, then you just move on and spend as less time with them as possible.
And why do you think women stick to it?
Well, number one, we have this vision of how we feel like it's going to be. We can fix it up, especially high achieving women. We work hard, right? So we don't mind work hard on the relationship, but we're the only one working. No one else is working.
Right.
So it's like we
So
see what we
true.
want to see and we overlook the red flags. Oh, he didn't mean that. Oh, he was just upset. We make excuses instead of dealing with it the way it should be. And I'm not saying this is going to happen overnight. What I am saying that there's baby steps that you need to take in order to start changing and making your life the way you want it to be. Because people are going to be saying, "What's wrong with you? What happened?" They're going to
What
be shocked.
happened?
Yeah, what happened to you? You acting funny. Or whatever you say. That's not going to bother me because I'm on my own journey. Because when I went to therapy, they said, "You're just wasting your money going to therapy." It's my money. If I want to waste it, I waste it. So you're going to have people around you that are going to stop you from growing because they're not growing.
Absolutely.
And you just keep on your journey. You just keep on your journey because at the end of that tunnel is a light, a bright light, and it'll
Yes.
shine. It'll shine, but you got to keep working on it though. You can't let it stop. It's a forever job. It really is.
Yes, it really is. And can you tell us about your experience with your, either a relationship that you had that was abusive,
Uh,
and how you got out of it or
well,
struggle?
I think what happened one of the toxic relationships I was in is when I met this guy, he was pretty self-sufficient. I always had my own stuff going on. I had my
Okay.
own money, everything like that. But being with him, I started losing everything. I mean, everything
Oh,
changed because I started sharing. And, it was just me and my son. But
okay.
when you put someone else in there and they're not contributing, they're taking from the amount of money that you already have. So, yeah,
Oh,
so one day I was sitting up, I didn't have a penny to my name. And I said, God, I don't know what I'm going to do. And so I just happened to go in my coat pocket and it was $40 in there. That was a sign. It's time for you to go. Watch for the sign. Watch for the signs, because and then I got that money and then I said, well, I'm finna get out of this. And so then I started looking for my own place without him knowing about it. I
mhm.
hustled up my money, put a down payment on my own place, told him I was moving with my aunt, and I moved.
You
And I didn't let him know
did.
where my address is. Now, during the process, you're going to be tempted to talk to him, but you can't because it's not going to work. You already know it's not going to work, but you still have to be strong and you still can't take calls. You can't follow them on Facebook. You can't do anything. You just continue on your journey because again, every day you'll get stronger. So that was a toxic relationship because I got tired of being broke. That's what
Mhm.
you know, and living the style of living that I was used to living.
Right.
Yeah. And I knew it had to be him because I was doing okay until I met him.
Mm.
Being honest with yourself again. Don't make everything all rosy. Think about
Mhm.
how he talks to you, how he disrespects you, how he looks down on you, how he gaslights you and make you think that you crazy, you don't know what you're talking about. Think about that. Don't think about those little flowers he bought you about 2 months ago. See, because that's romanticizing.
Yeah, that's what they call love bombing.
Yeah, definitely love bombing. Definitely,
Mhm.
definitely. But we get so caught up in the glitz and the glamour, we don't see the red flags. So yeah,
Mm.
that was a that was a relationship, but I also feel that you need to have a spiritual connection. That's
Hmm.
that's my that's my own. A lot of people don't, but
Can you talk
that's
to
my
us about that? Because I believe that too. What does that
well,
mean to you?
a spiritual connection means to me listening to your intuition because it's God
Mm,
talking to you. It's
mm,
God speaking to you. Because every time I have gone against my intuition, it have cost me in the long run. Learn to
oh.
trust your intuition, and your
Mm-hmm.
spirituality keeps you grounded. It keeps you with that
Mm,
empathy for other people. Even though you haven't walked their walk, you still feel the pain that they feel, and you still want to be
mm,
there to help them. You
right.
have you're grounded. Spirituality helps me be grounded, and
Mm,
not because women, they can be pretty catty sometimes,
mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm,
we go against each other a lot. It stops
mm-hmm,
me from being petty.
mm. Right, right. And that's what we need, especially in motherhood. This is why, I have neutralized the mama trauma because
Right.
it's too much of even women going against each other or even talking about, so and so's lifestyle or so and so's issues when nobody has a perfect life.
No way.
Nobody has a perfect life, and every one of us has, and no matter what path we're on or where we are at on our path, like you said, it's a forever job.
Yeah, it
So,
is.
what right does it make me to judge
To
someone? What right
judge
does it make
anybody.
another mom to judge another mom when we're going to be imperfect all throughout our life?
Hmm.
There is no perfection. This is why we're here. This is why we do the work. This is
Yeah.
why you do your work. This is why I do my work
Yes,
with
it
my
is.
clients, right? Is to at least help us navigate through this trauma mindset, abuse, toxic,
Hmm.
um, and then we become toxic with other women.
Yeah, we do. We do.
Yeah,
It's
no.
bad.
And then our children learn that. I've
Yeah.
seen it too many times.
Yeah.
Right? So
I've
if we're
seen.
really going to change the world, if we say women, it's time for women to change the world, women to be in charge, well, we need to show that
Yes, we do.
in a healthy way.
And we're all sisters in the
Yes,
movement. We're all sisters
we're
in the
all
movement.
sisters in the movement.
Yes, we are.
Absolutely.
We are.
I
And
love it.
do not and don't come down on yourself because you made mistakes. That's a big issue with me, is because you have to be your own best friend. I had to
Hmm.
learn that. And I learned that if I don't care about me, nobody's going to care about me. So don't
Hmm.
come down on yourself because you done made some mistakes. I mean, it's all part of living. Just grow. Grow, learn, admit, and move on.
Mm. Yes. And I love that you just said, for us to learn to be our own best friend. Because in the journey, in the healing, in the therapy, in the coaching, whatever route you go, you're actually doing it to be your own cheerleader, your own advocate, your own best friend,
Exactly.
right? Because no one is
Beautiful.
walking your shoes but you.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
can you share with us, Janice, a tip or a practical thing that a mom can do, how to uplift themselves if they are going through some type of trauma, or like how you found yourself kind of stuck without money, not knowing, what to do? What can they do to uplift their self-esteem or their confidence for themselves?
Well, number one, it's going to be a little difficult if you're around somebody that keeps destroying it. It's
Yes,
going to be difficult. And
I
I'm
agree.
not saying that you can't do it, but it's going to
Hmm.
be a lot difficult. But I would suggest being around people that uplift you, getting on some groups, uh, some Facebook
Hmm.
groups where you can hear other people talk, not just to whine about it, but to
Hmm.
work on it,
Hmm.
you know. And if there are people in your lives that are putting you down, minimize your time with those people.
Hmm.
Minimize those times. Make a list of the qualities that you have forgotten about. Because you
Yes.
don't even remember them no more because all this other stuff is in the way. So
Yes.
start capitalizing on some of the things that you good at. Yeah, and that's a good way to start. Start reading self-esteem books. Get you a coach, because your coach is your cheerleader too. Make it about you. Make it about you instead of trying to fix somebody else. Make it about you. Make it about you because you are beautiful. You're whole and complete just the way you are. Just have to tweak some things in order to be what you really supposed to be.
Right. And I love that so much about tweaking, right? Because we can feel broken. We can feel, men call women damaged goods when they're damaged goods themselves too.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
That's true. That's
Yeah,
true.
that's why we become damaged goods, actually, because of men. So,
But that's
but
true.
it is
That's
true,
true.
right? It's like that's where it all stems from, is really from the relationships, and even, fatherly relationships. You
Definitely.
can, feel
Definitely.
damaged goods from your own father. So,
Mhm.
how dare someone label us that way? And, being broken, I feel like what you said, if you do tweaks, we're already whole and complete, but if we do
We
the
are.
tweaks, then
Mhm.
we can help ourselves, right? Moms can help themselves.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm a big believer in self-development, whether it's, professional or soul development, spiritual development, whatever you call it, but some type of development, because that is the only way we're going to evolve as humans.
And once you do get there, don't ever give it away because we give it
Mm.
away. Nobody steals it from us.
Mm.
Nobody stole the things that I allowed. I gave my permission.
Mm. Wow. So that makes me wonder, how many times do have we given our have we given our permission away to give,
Uh,
whether that be our power, our sense of self,
mhm.
sense of worth. That's a lot.
And silence is
Right?
silence is approval. If you never say nothing, that means you agree with it. Silence is consent,
Mm.
basically. So
Wow.
yeah, but
Silence is
you
consent.
gotta say to yourself, well, I contributed to this. What am I gonna do
Mhm.
about it?
And that's that self-responsibility that I love.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
So these ladies just shine on. That's all my recommendation. Continue to shine, continue to work on yourself, continue to love yourself, and don't give it away ever
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. Janice, so how can the audience find you online?
Okay. Well, if you want to schedule an appointment, it's connectwithjanice.com.
Okay.
Connectwithjanice.com. And that's the scheduled appointment. But I also have a Facebook group called Embracing the New You. If we want to go
Mm,
further and you want to get started there, you can start there and you can
okay.
connect with me there.
Okay.
Okay. And of course, it's
Beautiful.
Jeanice Cummings on Facebook. Okay.
Okay. Beautiful. And we'll have all the links too, where
Thank
they
you,
can
baby.
find you
I
too.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
fun.
Absolutely. I know it totally been fun. Hope to have you back. We can talk a little bit more, because I know you do a lot of toxic relationship stuff. So I'm sure we
Yes.
can dive into something more specific in what you do. But any last thoughts you want to give moms before we close?
Well, I guess my thoughts would be do it for yourself.
Mm,
Do anything that you do it for yourself first. Even before the kids, do it for you. The changes that you make or
mm,
you decide to make, do them for you. You deserve it.
Thank you so much,
Many
Janice.
blessings to these beautiful ladies.
Yes, many blessings to all the moms. And thank you for your wisdom, your time, and your presence, Janice.
My
It's been an
pleasure.
honor to have you on the show, and we hope to have you back soon.
Okay, thank you for inviting me. My pleasure.
Yeah, you're
Okay,
welcome.
take
Thank
care,
you.
sweetheart.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to Neutralize the Mama Trauma podcast. If you haven't already, please hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss any new episodes. It would also mean the world to me if you're able to take a moment and rate and review my podcast on how it was helpful to you. Also, please connect with me on my social media platforms. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you in the next episode.